All right, well, it's Tuesday night again. You know what that means. It means we must be on CJ Wallace's YouTube channel. About ready to discuss another Friday night of business. I was going to say business credit. Actually, we're talking about credit banking. We're talking about velocity banking. We're talking about mortgage sweep strategies. We're talking about cash flow banking. How exciting. I'm super excited to be sharing all of this with you. Let me see if I can get technology to work here and show you my screen. All right. Let us see what we can do here. We are going to, there it is, share screen. I click that button there and there we are. Well, hello folks. We're just giving everybody a chance to get on here. Super excited, Tuesday night. Oh, we got some good stuff for you. We're going to go ahead and jump right on in. Credit banking. My name is Joseph Smith. I'm with Wise Guys and Ties. We're coming to you live on CJ Wallace's YouTube channel. We love CJ Wallace. He's dedicated and committed to bringing the absolute most value to each and every person that he comes across. And love working with him, love working with the folks on his YouTube channel. We've worked with a lot of you folks. And what have we been working on? We've been working on credit banking. And what is the purpose of this webinar? Well, we're in search of the lost American dream. What is the American dream? What does that mean to you, the American dream? And that means quite a lot of things to a lot of different folks. What is the American dream? Well, we're in search of it, and this is where we get together on Tuesday nights to find it, right? We're using a lot of strategies with credit banking. On this channel with CJ Wallace, you call it velocity banking, and it goes by a lot of names: mortgage sweep strategies, cash flow banking, little subtle nuances, but pretty much all the same thing. What is credit banking? Put as succinctly as possible, it's when you take your lines of credit and you use that to convert high amortized interest debt from different loans that you have into your lines of credit. And in doing so, you're able to reduce the number of payments, you're reducing the overall principal. This has the effect of paying off this debt in about 1/3 the time and saving you literally, in many cases, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. Again, depending on the numbers in the loan. But this is all because of the differences between banking products, the differences between lines and loans. They're amortized a bit differently. Amortization is the schedule on which you repay your debt. So let's dive in, folks. Let's talk about what do we got going on for you today. Well, again, as I said, my name's Joseph Smith. My business partner, Mr. Ray Fleming, he's handling all the technical AV stuff, making sure that we're coming to you live and everything's working and that you can hear me okay. I want to just give a shout out all of you folks that are jumping in on this webinar. You welcome. Make sure you're putting in questions that you have as we go. I will make every effort to stop when I can and answer the questions as they come up. All right, so this is my contact information. If at any point you want to reach out and schedule a consultation, you've got our phone number there. It's our email address, as well as you can go to our website. A lot of new updates and features and articles on our website. I want you to definitely go check that out. Now on our website, we're primarily in the business of helping people develop business credit. And I know that's totally different than the subject matter tonight, which is credit banking. But we talked last week about the synergy between the two. So a lot of what we're going to focus on today is personal debt. But we definitely help a lot of people start businesses in terms of helping you position to be fundable and lendable by really educating people and coaching and mentoring them through the process. And we've had a lot of success with a lot of clients, and we can talk more about that later, but want to definitely jump right on it. So credit banking, how do you get to be a part of our webinar? How do you get access to the materials that we go over? Sometimes we're sharing different spreadsheets and different, we go over a lot of different information that's shared. We'll get onto the webinar. If you want us to, so what happens on our credit banking webinars? Well, we do a little introduction here. We do a little bit of some training where we're going to go over different aspects each week. I mean, because credit banking as a strategy is so large, there's so much to, so that for me to fit it into a short little mastermind here is very, it would be very challenging. So each week we just try to focus on different aspects of actual broader credit banking strategy. But this is an opportunity for us to come together, share different ideas, because everybody is on a different path on their journey towards achieving the American dream, right? Everybody's in a different place. And so some people have been doing credit banking, velocity banking. They've been doing this for a while and they've achieved a lot of success. And they might have some different banks that they've used, different credit cards, different points, rewards programs. This is a great place to mastermind, to network, to get to know other like-minded people that are all trying to eliminate their personal debt and achieve more cash flow, more freedom in their life. So this is this place where that happens. So this is a discussion that I tried to lead, and it's based off of us trying to get more educated and make educated choices with our finances. Because credit banking and the credit banking strategies have truly transformed my life. I'm a guy who's been through 2 foreclosures and a bankruptcy years ago, but it destroyed my credit. And this was a strategy that enabled me I learned a lot of other strategies, but this is primarily a huge financial strategy that removes debt and frees up cash flow. And let me say that creates a lot of peace of mind when you can do that. So how do you participate with this webinar? How do you stay engaged? And sometimes when you're trying to work on this and you've got your own numbers, we work a lot with generic numbers, but if you want us to work with your specific numbers, then you go here to our site. Because as part of every week that we do this, we go over a different person who's a part of the webinar. We go over their information and we make sure that everybody can take a look. Now, we don't share any names. There's no information. I don't sell any information, none of that. Everything is just generic. We're going over raw numbers. But the goal is for us to look at these and see how can we apply our credit banking strategy and really work through these numbers and see how we can make this happen. Because everybody's got unique challenges. Some people have a lot of challenges. Some people have a few. And the more you're exposed to this and the more you see it working, especially in other people's lives, the easier it is for you to start making this and implementing it in your life, making this happen for you. Now, for those people who are participating and you put your numbers in, as I make sure that we don't attach any of your personal information to it, you get the benefit of having a whole group of people mastermind and come up with different ideas and things for you to consider. And it's great to have a whole bunch of different people who are at all different levels of experience utilizing credit banking strategies to just get just a plethora of ideas and knowledge shared. It's why we call it a mastermind. So how do you participate in the mastermind? Well, you go to wiseguysandties.com/credit-banking. And we blow that up a little bit more on your screen, wiseguysandties.com/credit-banking. And this is so that you can participate in our webinars that happen on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Central Time, right? This is a great opportunity for you to build and grow your knowledge in this subject matter. So how do you participate? You put down below, you put your name, your email address, your phone number. This is just so I can communicate with you, but only if you want me to, right? I'm not going to contact you or email you or anything unless you want me to. But this is so that I know who this information belongs to if we're going to go over this. So people who want to do a free consultation with us, they must fill out this form so that I know who to work with on our consultation. So then you have to check mark the 4 boxes, which is because our legal department says that, we live in a litigious society, so we've got to have these disclaimers there so that we protect ourselves. Because Everything that we go over is broad in scope, it's general information, and it's up to you to do your own due diligence and check to make sure and see if these strategies that we cover actually work for you in the local jurisdiction that you're in and in your specific financial situation. So you have to put in name, email address, phone number, and check mark the boxes. That's all you have to do. And then you can get emailed the link into the webinar. Now, if you want to participate, now this part's optional. As you scroll down on the page, you can see this is where you can put in your net monthly, all of your financials, right? You put your financials in here, and then this is where we can now start to work with your numbers. So net monthly income, this is what gets deposited into your bank account, right? When we say net monthly income, after your income taxes, FICO, all of that's come out, Medicare, and if you have money that's being put away into 401k, anything like that, what is, after all that's done, what's the net that gets cut to you in a check or gets put into your bank account through direct deposit? So once we have the net monthly income, then we have to look at your total monthly expenses. And this is really good that we're going over this because we're covering a lot tonight. We're talking about budget, right? Total monthly expenses, just add it all up. What are your total monthly expenses? Now, available credit limit. So I'm going over these because we've had some confusion. Available credit limit. What does this mean? It means, let's say you have 3 credit cards and each of the credit cards has a $5,000 limit. Your available credit limit is $15,000. Right? That's what credit is available to you. Now, your current balance is how much of that credit you're using. So if I have $15,000 credit limit, then I'm using $12,000, that helps me to know how much is left of your credit that you have to work with. And then what's the interest rate? Now, if you only have, you might have various lines, one card might be at 9% or one line might be at 9%, but you might have another card at 20 and another at 18. So I get it. It could be all over the place. Let's just always try and work with the highest percentage that you have. That way our numbers will always, at worst, will always match, and at best will be end up being slightly better than what our numbers show. Loan amount to pay off. Now, the original amount of the loan. So if you went and got a house for $100,000, in terms of math wise, you would put down $100,000. Then it was a 30-year loan. So you put it in terms of years, 30-year loan. And then we have our loan start date. So this helps me understand where we're at today because I can plug in your numbers, figure out how much of the loan balance is still there. So if the loan started 5, 6, 7 years ago, that's fine, but put in the start date of the loan and the interest rate. I need to know the interest rate and your monthly payment. Now, the monthly payment that we're looking for here is, what you pay every month. And that's not necessarily principal and interest because there is your principal and interest payment. But then depending on where you're at in the loan, you might still be paying mortgage interest. You might have your property taxes being set up into escrow. Everybody has a different situation depending on what their situation is. So put the monthly payment in there so that we can know how much you're actually paying. Now, this just gives us one loan, and I was talking about a home loan, but you could be an auto loan. You could put any loan in there. But what if you have more loans? Actually, let's go back there. Right. What if you have more? What if you have more? Well, where it says current situation, you can list out more loans if you have a whole bunch of loans. The only reason why, this form could be huge if we wanted it to, but I just really want to get a picture of what the income is and the expenses and your available credit, understand what your credit balance is, then give us like maybe the biggest loan that you have in terms, so we can look at that. And that way, use these numbers and begin to help you see how to pay down your debt. So to participate, all you have to do is go to wiseguysandties.com/credit-banking and fill out the form. Now, all of the financial stuff, that's totally optional. You don't have to fill that out to be a part of the webinar. But if you do want to do a free consultation with us, you do have to fill this out. All right. So what is the Lost American Dream? right? Financial freedom, you're sitting there, you can just taste it. What would it be like to not owe anybody any money, right? To not have a somebody calling you to pay your bill or you're late, or just to be free of all of that debt, all that encumbers you and hinders you. Oh, that'd be great, just to be debt free. Well, I mean, financial freedom, that's what we're talking about. Financial freedom is the American dream today. Some people say, oh, well, it's having the house and the picket fence and the kids and the car and all that. Okay, that's true. That is part of the American dream for some people. But having that and being financially free, right? Because I want you to know I followed the plan of the American dream where I got a wife and I got I got an education and got a job and got the wife, and the house and the kids came later, and the cars and the dogs, and before you know it, we're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and we're shackled. It's like, wait a minute, I'm trying to live the American dream, but instead of the American dream, I'm stuck with the American nightmare, this debt, and it won't go away. And I told you already, I had 2 foreclosures, which led to a bankruptcy. So that is not that is not a legacy that I want to pass on to my children. That's not the American dream. No one dreams, I think it'd be great to go to school and get this diploma and have all this debt and then get this job that, isn't really related to my degree, and to work really hard but not make enough, and to eventually have all my all my finances spiral out of control because one thing goes wrong and I can't handle it, and I gotta use this credit card to pay that credit card to pay originally the payment that I couldn't. I know that all of you have been there. I know all of you know what I'm talking about. So what is the American dream? The best way I can define it is financial freedom, because when you are free to do what you were put on this earth to do, you can lead a purpose-driven life. You can know. So many people, they have an idea of what they want, they know what they want to do, but what hinders them? There's a lot of things that hinder people. People's own fear is usually the primary one, but most of the times when you get down to what is technically holding somebody back, what's technically holding yourself back, is the fact that you just got so much debt and no foreseeable way to get out of debt. You're in prison, you're trapped. So we want to experience freedom because so many people came to America to experience freedom from oppression and tyranny. Well, we get to America and now we face a new type of oppression and tyranny. It's a financial oppression and tyranny. And what holds us captive now is the banks. So, financial freedom. Let's define this. Let's start doing some math, okay? I know it's late at night and people are like, "Oh, I hate math." But it's important. Math is important, okay? But we have to quantify what financial freedom is. It can't just be this mystic number or idea that's out there. Otherwise, we'll never achieve it. It'll never happen for us. We don't know what we're shooting for. You can't hit a target if you don't even know what the target is. So financial freedom happens when your passive income equals your monthly expenses, right? So it's simple formula. Take your monthly expenses, subtract your passive income, and that'll equal your financial freedom goal. Okay, so some people are like, well, what's passive income? Passive income is money that comes to you regardless if you actually put any physical effort or energy into it. It's money that might get paid to you from a dividend of some type of investment you're in. The type of investing that I do is real estate. And I have rental properties with my investors and my partners. And I tell you, I love the first of the month because the first of the month, all of this money starts coming in from all of our rental properties. It's wonderful. That's another form of passive income because I'm not doing anything to actively work for that. I'm not going, oh, I got to go put in some. No, I mean, all I have to do is go to the mailbox, open it up, and then collect the checks. That's passive income, right? Money that comes into you without you actively having to work for it. Active income, obviously, is when you get up in the morning, drive into work, punch the clock, and go to work, and then punch the clock again when you leave. That's you actively working. You're trading your time for money. In this case, with passive income, I'm not trading any time. The money just comes in. So the way we achieve financial freedom is we have to take all of our monthly expenses and then subtract how much money is coming in through passive income, and then that will equal our financial freedom goal. That way we know what we're shooting for. So let's look at an example. If your expenses, monthly expenses, are $3,000 a month, and you have right now 0 passive income coming in, that means your target financial freedom goal is to have $3,000 a month at a minimum coming into you every month, so that you're now financially free. Because now, if all of your expenses are paid for already every month without you having to actually go to work for it, then the only reason you go to work now is because you love your job. You love doing what you do. And if you don't love your job, you're only working that job to pay the bills or because you needed the benefits for the insurance or something. But now when you have financial freedom, you can do whatever your purpose is, right? Is your purpose to create art? Go create art. Is your purpose to build something, to make something, to spend more time with your loved ones? Whatever it is, financial freedom gives you the ability to do what you were here to do. Now, how much money do you need to invest to create that passive income to reach that financial goal? Now, I know we're not even talking about credit banking yet. What is this? We have to get this out of the way. If we don't even know what we're doing, what we're shooting for, if we don't even know the target, how do we know that we've succeeded, right? Well, we have to clearly define this. I mean, here we are, it's the beginning of 2020. And if we don't even know what these numbers are, then we don't have a correct vision for our finances. And that's pretty scary, right? We want to know clearly and define clearly and have it plainly set out. What are my goals? What is my objective? So in the example, I need to replace my monthly expenses. How much money do I need to invest to create the passive income needed to reach my financial freedom goal? Well, it's another formula, of course. So you take your financial freedom goal, it's pretty simple, and you multiply that by 12, right? Okay, pretty simple. So and then all you have to do is divide that by your rate of return. Rate of return, your ROI, what rate of return? It's how much interest is going to be paid back to you off of whatever you're investing in. So if you invest in the stock market, mutual funds, index funds, you're investing in real estate, you're investing in money markets, whatever it is, there's a certain rate of return. Is it 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%? I mean, everybody has a different risk tolerance level. So the greater the rate of return usually translates to the higher the risk. But if you're like, I don't want to take too much risk, then you got to go for a safer, more stable investment. So a lower rate of return. So based off of that, let's look at an example. Let's say I've got those $3,000 of all my expenses every month. If I multiply that by 12, that's $36,000 right a year. But then I divide that by the 10% rate of return that I need to make. And well, that's my risk tolerance level. So I believe that I can make money through real estate, or if I have some money, I can lend it out, make it back, or I can invest in whatever assets that I want to invest in. So if getting back a 10% rate of return is the goal, then what I would need to have is $360,000. And for some of you, that'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so much money. And other people are looking at that like, that's it? That's how much my house is worth. Think about that. If you had $360,000 and you were putting it to work, now you go to work right now, right? You go to work and you go out and you put your time in and you get paid money. Imagine if you had $360,000 and you sent it to work, and they went out and they worked and they put in the time for you, right? And they brought back their earnings, right? If they were earning at least 10%, then that would bring in enough money to equal the passive income that you need to be financially free. That's what we're really going for. That's what we're trying for. All right, but what keeps us from financial freedom, right? Well, we were kind of looking at Indiana Jones here, right? That whole quest of searching for that lost American dream, and you're just about ready to grasp it. You can almost taste it, and then seems like everything starts to fall apart, and you find yourself running down the hill away from all of these Amazon natives that are throwing spears at you, or what we call out of control debt, and let those natives be your creditors, right? All the people looking to get you to pay back what you borrow. I mean, we never planned it to work out that way. We put a little money on the credit card here, and it was an emergency, and then all of a sudden something happened at work and they cut my hours back, and all kinds of things happen, right? Medical issues happen, things that we didn't expect, unexpected expenses, and everybody's got something like that's happening. So all of a sudden our debt becomes out of control, and then we're stuck. And that's how we got to where we're at. So where is that lost dream? I mean, we lost it, and then it's like most of us just get stuck, like literally like we're in prison, like we're in jail, and we can't break free. Well, how do we find it? How do we find that treasure trove of that has, because you were a little kid once and you dreamed, what did you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be president of the United States. I want to be an actor, an actress. I want whatever it was, right? Then all that debt happened, life happened, and now we work the job that we're at now. And the job we're at is fine. We're grateful to have the money coming in, but it's not what I feel like I was meant for. Have you ever thought that? Like, well, I'm grateful that I have a job. I'm grateful that I have some income, but it's not what I don't feel like is what I was meant to do. Well, what you need is your map. You need your treasure map. You need to find what happened. And so that map, it's broken into several different pieces. And this is what we cover here every week when we go through this credit banking training. We're going to cover today. Okay, my name is Joseph Smith, as you should probably already know because I hopefully introduced myself. But we're talking today about budget. Yes, the B word, budget. Oh man, we all love talking about budget, right? And we cover budget many times, and a lot of you have seen this training. I'm just going to shoot through it real quick because a lot of people really, they just don't actually keep a budget. They just sort of loosely manage things through looking at their online checking account. But what I'm throwing up here are just some generic numbers that were pulled from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It shows the average budget and income and expenditures for an average 2-income American family. So if we look at this, we have $5,000 that comes in, and the first chunk of that budget, of that pool, is $1,200 for the mortgage. You know, I noticed that my picture here in the upper right-hand corner of the screen looks like it's. I think I'm gonna. Let's see. Is there a way for me to take that off? Here, I'm gonna stop my video for a moment so you can see what's on my screen. Oh, and we have a question coming in here. Okay, Max Shaw says, how do we pay off student loans? Great question. How do we pay off student loans? Well, I mean, the reason why that's a great question, and thank you for that question, Max Shaw, is because if you're just making the minimum payments or you're deferring, they never go away. And they will never go away because they will always have another lender that always buys it out. So student loans are always like automatically refinanced after every few years. And so that means that the debt never goes away. So you make your minimum payments, you literally will make them for life. If you're just making the minimum payments, you will never pay that off if it's always constantly being refinanced. So how do we pay that off? Well, we're actually going to have to free up cash flow in our budget and use that cash flow to make what's called a chunking method type of payment using a line of credit is my suggestion. A line of credit, putting a big chunk down as a principal only payment, and then sweeping down all of that. That big chunk payment, where did it come from? It came from a line of credit. And so you put that, so you transferred that student loan debt or a large portion of it into a line of credit. And then you use the credit banking method to sweep away all that debt. And the more you sweep away that debt, the more cash flow you free up. It creates a certain speed there. So that's why you hear all these terms, velocity banking and sweep strategies and cash flow banking, right? All of these, more generic term to represent it is credit banking. You're going to be banking through a line of credit. And so that's ultimately what we're going to do. And hopefully we can demonstrate some of that in a little bit here. So with the budget, if I get back here and make my technology work, we're just looking at the different aspects of the budget. So you have a $1,200 that's going towards the mortgage. And then of course you have 2 car payments. And so with there being 2 car payments, that means if the average car payment's $300, and that means you're paying $600. And then you've got your credit card payments. Now we take a look here, and on the screen, on the right side of your screen, you've got loans and your auto loan, and then you also have lines. These are the different types of banking products that we're using. We either have credit cards or personal lines of credit, or a home equity line of credit, right? Or we have loans, a home loan, an auto loan, a student loan, business loan, personal loans. So the loans are amortized in such a way that's different than the amortization on the credit cards. So you have, even though you have your interest rates that you're paying, how you pay those back is really the difference. And that's really the key, is figuring it's, and why doesn't anybody know this? Why is it so secret? It's because it's all in the fine print. It's all in the fine print, and most of us just click through that. We just say, yeah, I acknowledge and I accept all the terms. But if you really start understanding how these are paid back and how the and how the amortization is done, then you can see quite clearly which one is more expensive. So what we're seeing here for a $200,000 house that at 6%, they're paying a principal and an interest payment of $1,200 a month. Now they probably have mortgage interest, mortgage insurance. They have the regular homeowners insurance, and they're paying property taxes. All right, and then your auto loan, 2 different vehicles, $26,000 is maybe the amount that they're carrying in total debt, with a $600 monthly payment. Over here under lines of credit, average 3 credit cards with a $5,000 limit on each credit card, but each card carrying about a $1,000 balance, and all of that at 21% interest. So far we're talking budget, and a lot of you are like, oh, this is so painful. Well, there's a reason why we're going over this. Okay, then we have to identify what our cost of living expenses are. I mean, do we go get Starbucks? Do we have Netflix? What's our food budget, our gas budget? How much are we spending on all the different things in our life? What does all that cost? And so that all of these numbers are going to be different for you, right? But understanding each of these segments. And then lastly, how much money are we saving? Now, as Americans, depending on what you read, statistically, we're not saving anything. And then, but again, these numbers were pulled from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And so in these calculations, what they've lumped together in with savings is what they call long-term savings. And long-term savings, as defined by them, is contributions to your 401k, your IRA, or any type of, if you make contributions to a trust, maybe you are making, you have a pension, whatever it is. So people make these contributions, and that's really what makes up the majority of this wedge of the budget, is because we contribute to a 401k, IRA. We're setting money aside maybe into a health savings account. Now, some of you are hearing me saying these things like, I don't put any money into there. Yeah, I get it. So this wedge will probably have more over here into the house, maybe more into the credit card. Maybe a lot of this is over here into the cost of living. So your budget is always going to be unique to you and different. But we're looking at the average two-income American family. So a large portion of savings is going into 401ks, and then is money that's put into savings accounts. But you guys know how it is, right? Oh, I'm going to put $500 in the savings account, but it was a online transfer, and I put it in there, and I feel good. But then tomorrow, all of a sudden, I realize, oh, I forgot to account for that cell phone bill or this or that, and so as easily as it went in the savings account, pull it right back. I mean, that's what everybody does, right? So it's like we do save, but how much do we save? How often do we save? And it's really it's very fluid. So a lot of people, when they actually are saving, they're saving short term, like let's save up for a summer vacation, or we're saving up for Christmas or something like that. And so it's a very short term saving. Or hey, we want to make some renovations and upgrade our kitchen. So you save a little bit a month or two before, but so there's these temporary savings that we do. But long-term savings is usually the way people think about it, is putting money into some form of retirement. So there you have it, folks. An average two-income American family's budget. Again, 2 incomes, no kids, and then we have $5,000 in, $5,000 out, and 0 cash flow. So when it comes to paying off these debts, how do you know which debt to pay off first? Should we pay off that student loan first, or should we take care of the home loan? Or maybe it's the auto loan that we need to take care of. I mean, how do we know, right? We need to identify which debts are the most efficient and which debts are the most inefficient. And so our inefficient debts are the ones that we want to pay off first. So let me look here. We have something coming in here on, we have Jose Pena saying credit card of $22,000 with 0% interest in August of 2020. I want to chunk the loan, but since I have a 0% interest, chunk and then pay my bills after the chunk is deposit my income into it. I think I understand what you're saying there. So you've got this credit card with the $22,000 limit at 0% interest. That's awesome. You're leveraging someone else's money, which is what that is. And right now, you don't have to pay anything for that. So that's pretty awesome. Now, every card, you got to read the fine print. Balance transfers up to a certain amount for a certain period of time. You've got to look very carefully at how you can do that. But yes, in general, what you want to do is take your line of credit, and you want to not only take a chunk out, you want to take the chunk and put that and transfer that debt onto the credit card, right? But then after you transfer the loan onto the credit card, then you use your credit banking strategy to pay down that line of credit, because you want to get that all back down to 0. And if you can get it back down to 0 before you've ended your 0% interest introductory rate, then that was great, because it's like free money. All right, so I want to chunk my loan income is $4,600, expenses $2,800, so cash flow $1,800. You know what? Here's what I say, and these are great numbers. Jose, go ahead to Wise Guys and Ties /credit-banking, and go ahead and fill out the form. Fill it all out, put all those numbers in there, and we could feature you in an upcoming week. Now, I want to protect everyone's anonymity, and even though you're putting those numbers out there, which I do appreciate, we can share your information in one of our next webinars for sure. But I am going to go over all of this information. I'm going to be using different numbers tonight, but just stay tuned. And if you want, and you want your specific situation, and if anybody wants to go over their specific situation, fill out the information. We can do a free one-on-one consultation as well, and participate in the webinar. This is awesome. So thank you so much, Jose. So back to how do we know which debt to pay off first? Well, we've got to figure it out. What the largest amount of debt, the biggest payment, the lowest payment? Well, how do we know? Well, we follow a very simple formula. E equals B divided by P. Very simple, where E equals your debt efficiency expressed in a percentage, right? So B is your loan balance, right? And then divided by your minimum payment. Actually, that is incorrect. It actually should be E equals P divided by B. So I actually wrote that wrong on the screen here. I'll have to make sure that I correct that. All right, but we definitely want to look at the efficiency here. So and we'll go over that in just a bit. But before we do, I wanted to let's see if I can open up an Excel spreadsheet, because we're talking about budget, and you know, it's so important here. Let's see. Let's look at the credit banking budget here. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I use to help myself out and help other folks that we work with out. And for some reason, it doesn't want to work right. Let's try that again. All right. You gotta love it when technology works, right? Okay, that's the credit banking calculator, right? That's good stuff. And let me see here. I'm looking for, we want to open up the budget form. And it's still open. There we are. So enable editing. Okay, so here's what's important is, and I want folks to try and see, is this is the thing that's the most difficult when we work with our clients, is determining what is our budget. So here's several things. And you know, when you become a part of the credit banking webinar, all you simply have to do when you're a part of the credit banking webinar is request any of these spreadsheets that we use, and we'll pass them on to you. As long as you acknowledge that, you know, you use these, and we're just sharing these with you, but it's your responsibility to do your own due diligence and make sure that all of these things work best for you. But what we do is we try to help people understand what their income is: wages, the net cash taken, right? Interest, dividends, miscellaneous income, everything like that. And then we look at what are their expenses, right? You have HOA fees, taxes, you know. I don't want to read every line item on here, but this is how we really, it's really good. It's like memory joggers almost. It's like trying to figure out how much I'm paying, or did I take into and do you use dry cleaning? Do you dine out, right? I mean, when you look at gas and fuel, there's your insurance, repairs. Do you take your car out to a car wash? Like, there's all these little things, and we got to account for all of this money. And so this is just really, some people we just deal with have never actually sat down and made a budget. So we just have some sample numbers to go over. And of course, as it was with any Excel spreadsheet, you can modify any of these items here and add more stuff in. But looking at, I mean, what are your health expenses, entertainment, all your subscriptions, both your, you know, online, do you have apps on your phone, everything like that. We want to look at. What about also, I mean, do you give to charity, or do you attend church and you tithe? Do you contribute anything towards your children's public education? Things like that. Looking at all kinds, everything that we can think of. Are you setting aside a clothing allowance? What about cleaning supplies for the house? All of these things. So when we're talking about budget and we're trying to understand our budget, the reason why we go over this a lot and why I'm spending some time is we've actually worked with a lot of people where we find duplications, where when you sit down and you actually try to figure out all of the different things you're subscribed to, you can find that you're subscribed to 2 audio services. Maybe you don't need both of those, or you've got 3 different streaming services for movies or entertainment, and maybe you don't need all 3. Maybe you only need 1. Right? I mean, it's just looking at those things. We had somebody who was paying a whole bunch on life insurance, had all these old and policies, and I mean, it's great. And there's nothing wrong with having life insurance, but at some point, I mean, the amount that was being paid out for 3 different policies, it's like, is that what we need? And if that's what you need, absolutely stick with it. I mean, I'm not here to tell you what your expenses should or shouldn't be. I'm just trying to help people identify what the expenses are and to find out if there's anything that's being duplicated. Is there anything where we're spending too much? And that's why I say duplications, because I don't know if you're spending too much, because I mean, it's your life, but you can, I mean, a simple exercise of figuring out where the money's all going for 1 month uh, unveils so many things. Like, I didn't realize we were spending money there. Oh, we're spending money here, here, and here, and we're already doing all these other things. So this is a great tool, and while it's, for some people, it's just so daunting. People are like, oh no, I don't want to do this. Let me tell you, it yields awesome results, because all of a sudden you go from living paycheck to paycheck to say, hey, I actually have freed up a little bit of cash flow. I got $200, $300, $400 now to work with. And so while it can be a pain to go through the budgeting process, it yields amazing results. So I want to encourage you and everybody to do that. All right. So with that said, what I want to do with our time remaining is jump over to an example. So Jose was giving his numbers, and that's great. And I encourage everybody who wants us to go over your numbers and to do that. What I would like to do now is I've kind of got through the introduction, I've done a little bit of training, and so now we're masterminding. This is highly interactive at this point. And I thank you to Mr. Ray Fleming, who's been answering all of the YouTube responses coming in. Great questions. Everybody just keep firing them away. But I want to make sure that at this stage of the webinar, for the next few minutes, that we all are engaged. And as we ask questions, or you have questions, or I ask you questions, you guys are participating and throwing answers out. It makes it so much easier when we all participate. So here we are, mastermind number 6, and we're looking at some numbers here. And at first glance, the numbers that I look at, an income of $1,283, but expenses $7,980. And as we look at, and we go down to the bottom, and then we find out that this person has not only the house they live in, but they have 2 other rentals, and they have rental income and cash flow off of the rentals. And then the cash flow off of the rentals is greater than the income that's even reported here. I'm just trying to, I mean, they have between their auto loan and their 3 mortgages over $1 million in total debt. So I'm looking how nobody could qualify for all of that with such low income. So what I think, I'm just trying to be a detective here, because sometimes when people are putting information into those fields I showed you earlier, they don't always understand what those fields mean. And so what I think, when they reported this income, I think what they were reporting was what they know their cash flow to be. And so if I apply the cash flow to the expenses, then that would mean that their income, again, is $9,263. Now, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say that's not the case. Let's say these are the actual numbers, because things happen, right? Life, maybe maybe we're married and all of a sudden we become divorced and one person gets saddled with all the debt and half of the income. I mean, those things happen. And it's tragic. But what do we do? How do we do this? Well, for credit banking to work, we've got to have three components, right? Three components for credit banking to work. What are they? Well, number one, we need debt. Well, no problem there, right? We got plenty of debt. But we also need income, not just a little bit of income, right? We need more income than we have in expenses, right? And then lastly, we need access to a line of credit. So if we're in a situation here where we got plenty of debt and look, they have access to a line of credit, $28,000. So I mean that's impressive. But if our income is less than our expenses, then the formula doesn't work. We can't actually do credit banking. You can't do velocity banking. You can't do sweep strategies. You can't do cash flow banking. So how do we fix this? Well, you can try to eliminate your expenses, right? You can always try to cut back. And a lot of people, that's their first thought. Well, how can we cut back? And there's nothing wrong with living within your means. I think that's an excellent thing. We should all look at how much we're spending and see where we can cut back, live within our means. But obviously the other thing is we need to increase the income. Number of ways to do that. So right here, instantly we see we lack enough money. Well, how do we increase the cash flow? I mean, do we work 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs? Well, you can, right? That's an option. Can you work and put in a little overtime? Sure. Do you have some type of sometimes people have access to different types of savings funds that they can pull from until they're able to increase their funds. I mean, everybody's situation is different. But the reason I bring this up is a lot of people forego thinking about going into business. Especially, I mean, a lot of people think that, well, to go into business, I have to already have money and already be doing so well, be so successful. No, I mean, obviously, if you went into business and under those circumstances, that would be great. But most people go into business out of necessity. We need to figure out some way. People are selling potions and lotions and all kinds of things. But what I recommend is that you take a look at what your strengths are and what you're passionate about and what your purpose is here. And you take a look. I mean, it's very easy to start a business here in the United States. And it's not hard to start generating income off of businesses. There's so many different opportunities. Thank God for the internet. I mean, without the internet, I don't know how we would be having this incredible GDP growth and all these wonderful financial and economic numbers that we're currently having. But what do you have to do? You start a business, and then you use your business to create a stream of income. What's the fastest way to do that? Referrals. Referral-based business, because everybody is looking, every business, I don't care what business you're in, you're looking for one of three things, right? You're looking for people. Oh, if I could spell right, you're looking for people. What's another thing every business is looking for? Every business is looking at property. And lastly, every business needs money. Every business needs people. They need customers, they need clients, they need leads, right? And then property. What do we mean by that? Every business has a location, except for people say, well, my internet business doesn't. That's true, but there's some point at which you sell a good or a service that's transacted in some physical location, some space and time. And to increase your business is to find the ways to increase that space and that time. And so businesses typically have commercial real estate, have an office, or If you have products, you're looking for warehousing, greater shipment, logistics, trucking, right? Real estate can exist on the back of a truck. It can be on a piece of land. Real estate, I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but every business is looking for property in such a way as to maximize its ability to generate wealth and become more lendable. And then lastly, money. Every business needs obviously to make money, but it's always looking for money, borrowing money, investor capital. It's always, I mean, because it takes money to make money. Everybody's heard that before, right? So every business is very interested in all of these, because with people, property, and money, you can develop cash flow, collateral, and really your credit. And so with that, businesses flourish and thrive. So because of that, you can easily start a business that helps other businesses that are already established find people, property, and money. Let me give you an example. So my business, I sell business credit. It's a service. It's an online web-based computer program. It's an education. It's a team of financial advisors, loan officers, all wrapped around a business to help it thrive and succeed, especially within the first 6 to 12 months, helping it get $50,000 in lines of credit. All right. Simply put, that's what my business, Wise Guys and Ties, does. But I'm always looking for new clients, always. And so let's say you, starting a business, found me a client, and that's somebody who needs some business credit. Boom, let's put the two together. This will be awesome, because what's going to happen is you're going to bring me a referral. I get them signed up, and then for your referral, I put $200 in your pocket. Now it's like, well, $200, that's nothing. Yeah, but how much work did you put into that? You made a phone call, you sent an email, and then $200. I mean, referral businesses are great. You start networking with other businesses. You go to meetups and clubs, and you find, what do other people have and what do they need? And then you just make it happen. Let's say I have I do real estate. I'm a real estate investor. You find me a property and I'm able to buy it and close it. Well, I'm going to pay you for your finder's fee, for finding that. I mean, that, or we might go into business together. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that happens, but I'm just saying, if you're out looking for people, property, and money, there's somebody that's going to pay you a referral fee for that. If you find me an investor, somebody's like, I want to invest with the right people that can help me build and grow my retirement, right? Well, hey, I know these real estate investors. Well, I've built, and just in the last year with my business partner, Ray Fleming, and all our partners, we've raised over $1 million just to purchase a few properties. We're always raising more capital. And so when people bring me other people who want to invest, I always reward those referrals by paying people for the referral. And I'm not the only one who does that. I mean, I'm not soliciting for any funds here. I'm not saying you have to start working with me in a referral business. What I'm saying is, everybody today seems to offer some kind of referral business. Very simple. Find out what the local people and businesses are doing, and you can start increasing your income. Let's see. We had something come in off of the text here, and it says, well, it looks like Ray is actually doing a good job answering all the questions. So good job, Ray. Keep up the good work. All right. So folks, if you don't have, if the income isn't there, then business credit, credit banking, velocity banking, sweep strategy, right? The cash flow banking, it's not going to work until your income exceeds your expenses. And so if that's not you, then we need to immediately take action to increase income or decrease expenses, or both. And so that's why I recommend using a budgeting sheet, seeing where all the money's going, see where you can cut back. And sometimes you just might be a little over leveraged. And these are the times where, before things get bad, as long as you're still making payments, before they get bad, maybe you have to sell off some of your, in this case, some of your debt. I don't know. Let's take a look. All right. So if we go off of just the number of 1,283, we have no cash flow. But if that was the cash flow, then we have $1,283. That just makes more sense to me, given the fact that we're dealing with an individual that has a home mortgage of $290,650, 3% interest, and then a rental property, right? A second rental property and an auto loan. So we're looking at all of this. I imagine that there's more income here than we're talking about. So, but which one should we pay off first? I mean, just looking at it like, whoa, look at mortgage 3. Look at that. That's $452,000. That's expensive. Or look at these payments here. Oh, look at this payment. $2,660. Well, we have to do the math. Let's figure out the efficiency. So how are we going to do that? Well, we whip out our handy dandy calculator, right? And we're going to use the formula that we talked about earlier. So we're going to take our payment, which, let's go over mortgage number 1. Our payment is $1,505. Oops. No, I screwed that up. So if you're playing along at home with the play along version, right, you're calculating these. And so to figure out our debt efficiency, so we know which one to pay off first, we need to take our payment and we divide it by the total debt, the loan balance. So we take $1,505 and we divide that by $290,650. And as you can see, we have a very low percentage here, so 0.0052. All right. Well, folks, you see, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do this for all of them. Playing along at home, if you're doing this, let's look at the efficiency of the rest of this debt. And what I'm looking for from the audience is which one of these debts over here, let's look, we got mortgage 1, 2, 3, and the auto loan. Which ones of these do we need to pay off first based off of debt efficiency, right? So this is the math. This is how you do it. People ask, well, how do you do it? How do you know which one to pay? Well, this is how we do it. So I'm looking at mortgage 2. I take $2,500, divide that by $3,790,000, and I've got a, all right, oops. So we're just calculating our debt efficiency. So if you're going through, and I know some of you, it's late at night, especially those on the East Coast. So that's why I'm using the calculator and doing some of it for you, so you can try and figure this out. So we're going to take the, so there's so many numbers here. How much cash flow is coming off? What is the gross rent? No, we're just taking what our payment on the debt is. So $2,660, and we divide that by, in this case, $452,000. All right, and we have, get that to work. All right, and then we're looking lastly here at the auto loan. Yes, the auto loan. Let's take a look. So as we take our $426 a month car payment, some of you might be like, that's really high. Other people might be like, wow, I can't believe that that's that low. We take that and we divide that by $23,483.00, giving us a nicer number here, 0.018. Okay, so now we have our efficiencies. Here they are. These are efficiencies as expressed in terms of, let's here. So the way it works is, the lower the number is, the more inefficient the debt is. The higher the percentage is, the more efficient it is. All of these are really low. All of these are exceedingly low. So we have to figure out Which one? Which one do we need to pay off? Anybody know? Anybody chiming in? Can anybody see which one we should pay off first? A lot of people, I mean, I'm open to ideas. I mean, normally
says the car.
Carlos says the car. Well, Carlos, if we look at this, this is actually, compared to our other numbers that we have up here, the car is the most efficient out of all of our debts. But I mean, being that it is such a low number, it is still a very inefficient debt. I will give you that. It's very inefficient. But we have other debts here that are even more inefficient. And so that's always the one we want to pay off first, because that's where our money, that's where we're really giving up or losing the most of our money, the most of our buying power is being eaten up in inefficient debt. So anybody else? Anybody else? I mean, some people are like, hey, let's take out the auto loan first, right? And then we could free up an additional $426 more of cash flow. I mean, I'm not going to say that, you know, right or wrong answer there. I mean, I mean, a lot of people see that as, yeah, let's do that. But as we work with, in this case, so in this case, so we have 1,283 as our cash flow. Let's pull up the handy dandy calculator, right? So if we take $23,483, right? That's the auto debt. And we divide that by our monthly cash flow, which was, again, I forgot already. Can you believe it? I already forgot. $1,283. Well, if we divide that by $1,283, because that's our cash flow per month, it's going to take a year and a half to pay off this auto loan. But I mean, that's pretty cool, because I mean, it was going to be 3 years left on, I think, on this car. I can't remember the exact, it's either 3 or 3.5 years. So it's getting paid off sooner. But for 18 months, well, we're going to free up that cash flow of the $426. We're still paying, and we're not making any significant progress on our inefficient debts, our more inefficient debts. So if you look at, and sometimes you got to just put it into the spreadsheet, and you've got to plug it in, and you got to take a look at how does this pan out over time, because what you're going to find is that, yeah, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. Let's get that car off right away, because it'll at least give us a little bit of relief on the debt to income ratio. I mean, so again, that's why I love masterminds. There's so many different ways to take a look at this. So there's no right or wrong answer here. All right, anybody, any other thoughts? Anything else coming in? Because the mortgage with 5% interest. This is not the most inefficient. Actually, the most inefficient debt is mortgage number one. Mortgage number one. Believe it or not, even though the payment's only $1,505 a month, this is more inefficient than all the other ones. Now, keep in mind, they're all very inefficient. So we want to pay them off as quickly as possible, including the auto loan. The auto loan is very inefficient, so we want to take care of that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and figure out, so usually we look at what's our utilization. So we have $28,000 of available credit, and we're currently carrying a zero balance. So what does that mean our utilization is at? We have 0% utilization. Woohoo! This is good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go into my other Excel spreadsheet here. this is where we look at, let's look at it. Ah, yes. Once again, we come back to work on our credit banking. Okay, so we're going to have to feed in the numbers here on the previous page. Let's see if I can, let's see if we can, there we go. Put our numbers side by side here. So we want to pay off this $290,650 debt, because this is our most inefficient debt. Again, I'm paying off the most inefficient debt, but this feature doesn't like cut and paste, so we'll just type it in. All right, 290,650. All right, and so what's the interest rate on this one? 3.5% interest. So let's go ahead and do that. 3.5% interest. And how many months left? 284 months left on this loan. 284 months. And that's right where we're at. Okay, but then we need to go over here and then put in our credit information. So we're at, it says here, interest rate 9%. So let's put in 9%. And then I'm gonna believe that the income was actually this number right here that we calculated. So to show you how this works, so $9,263 a month coming in, and then we have for our $7,980 in expenses for a cash flow of $1,283. All right, let's take a look and see how this credit banking works. So by funneling every paycheck in through the line of credit and then putting all of the expenses back on to the line of credit or the credit cards. Remember, we have a $28,000 credit card. So we're running all of this through there. And every chance we have, we're trying to make a chunk payment, not to exceed 50% of our total line. So we're talking about making like a $14,000 principal only payment, paying that off, while running all of our income through the line of credit, while at the same time putting all of our expenses on the line of credit. This is what it actually looks like. So if we did none of that, if we just did it the normal way, you have $290,000, 650 on this payment at 3.5% interest. There is 23.67 years left on this loan to pay it off. So the total interest paid from now over this basically for the 23.67 years left is $137,205. Okay, that's this blue line. If you're looking right here on this graph, that's the blue line. If we just make the minimum payments over the next 23.67 years, then we will pay it all off. Now, what if we use the strategy where we make all the payments every month, but we add an extra $500 every month towards the payment? What would that look like? Well, that's this orange line here. And as you can see, making extra payments does pay it down faster. In fact, if you made an extra $500 a month payment on top of the regular payment that you have to make, right? Then what you would see is you would pay this, instead of paying it off in 23 years, you'd pay it off in 15.75 years. And your total interest paid would be $87,601. And that would mean that you would save $49,604 in interest from having paid it off early, right? Because we're saving interest because we're making fewer payments. Every time you're making extra payments, you're skipping ahead in the amortization, skipping over payments, skipping over interest as well. Now, this right here, this is the crux of credit banking, velocity banking, mortgage sweep strategies, all of it. So we have a line of credit, that $28,000 at 9% interest. We have our income, our expenses. So we have our cash flow is $1,283. That's what we have left over. Now, what this takes into account, there's two really critical assumptions that we're making. We're assuming in all of this that your income is not going to change, right? That's a pretty important assumption because does our income change? Sometimes it can go down, but hopefully you see nothing but blessings and it just continues to increase. But for the example that we're illustrating here, the income is not changing over this entire time. People usually get raises. Sometimes there's economic downturns, right? This is taking none of that into consideration. Just if your income stayed exactly the same. Assumption number two is that we're taking is that your expenses aren't changing. Now, how often is it that our expenses from year to year remain exactly the same? So from that perspective alone, you can see that there's some built-in inaccuracy in what we're looking at. However, that being said, and I'll explain in a moment how all of this still works out. But we're making those two assumptions right off the bat, but it helps us to at least conceptually understand how this works. So at this 9% interest rate, what you're going to see is that if your income and your expenses didn't change, you could pay off this this entire mortgage in 11 years. Right? The total interest you would pay would be $62,240, saving you $74,959 in interest. Now, we have this column over here. We don't use it a lot on this webinar because this comes in a different situation. But this is when so we talked about basic credit banking, basic velocity banking, because there's these assumptions made. With the advanced credit banking, what we're looking at is at some point as we pay down a loan, specifically in this case, a home mortgage, right? At some point you're going to achieve 40, 50, 60% equity in this property, at which point you, what we try to do is then help you try and find, you got to do all the work yourself. You got to look for a home equity line of credit. And what we're looking for is a bank. Typically, it's a smaller bank, a regional bank or a credit union that will allow you to put the whole mortgage into a first position HELOC. And this is great. So when you're at, say, when you at 40% equity, okay, that means you still owe 60% of the value. Let's make numbers easy. So $100,000 house, right? You've paid it down to there's $60,000 left. You have 40% equity in this house. What we do, what's out there, what's available right now are home equity lines of credit where you can get 80% loan to value. 80% loan to value would mean on our $100,000 house that they would then pay off the first mortgage, wipe that out, and in place put all of that into a home equity line of credit. At 80% loan to value, that means you've got an $80,000 home equity line of credit, except for you've transferred the old balance on there. So there's an $80,000 line of credit, but now you're carrying a $60,000 balance. A lot of these numbers don't change. In fact, the payment's going to be roughly the same to start off with as well. But what we're able to do now with your with your home equity line of credit is now it's amortized way differently. Okay, it's now amortized with a very simple APR. Now you might have a variable rate interest and it can change, so you got to stay on top of that. But still, what you were paying before for the first part of that mortgage was very expensive because all the interest was front loaded. So now what you have with the advanced credit banking strategy is when we're starting to use a line of credit, an actual HELOC line of credit to where we pay down the entire house through this line of credit. This is a very awesome strategy. If we started with that, if we had the ability to start with it, it would pay everything down very quickly. Here it says 4%. I mean, I think a lot of them rates right now could be 9%, 12%. I mean, it depends on what you're going to qualify for. I mean, what's your credit score, your income to debt ratio, right? We're looking for you're looking at your total debt, right? Okay. So a lot of other variables and factors come into mind. But so here's what happens. As you start utilizing credit banking strategy and you start freeing up equity, you're able to take advantage of other different types of banking products and accelerate your debt pay down. A lot of times also people don't understand is that when you switch to a credit banking strategy, sometimes life happens, right? And then you've got an unexpected expense comes in. So those are things that can throw things off in terms of paying things down. But what's great about this is if an unexpected expense comes up, you're like, oh no, I put all my money onto my line of credit. Oh, but wait a minute, I can just use that credit to make that payment. And so, yes, you might for 1 month have shot that debt up a little bit higher, but still keeping consistent with that strategy will still pay it off very quickly. A lot of times, I mean, it depends on what your cash flow is. We want to continue to increase the cash flow, which is why I liked Carlos's idea of paying the car off, because when you do that, then you would free up more cash flow. And when you free up more cash flow, that increases the speed at which the debt is paid down. As you can see here on this line here, the reason why the debt's being paid down so quickly is because so many chunks are being taken out of the original loan, which is creating fewer payments that need to be made in total, but also those fewer payments means less interest has to be paid as well. So this is a great, this has been a great mastermind. I love going over all of this information with all of you folks. It's a lot of fun. But we've reached the end of our time here today, and want to be respectful to everybody's time that we have here. So, folks, as I'm closing out, I just want you to know, hey, you want to be a part of, what we're doing here, what we got going on? I want you to, if I can, let me get back here. We want you to participate in our credit banking. Right? So we want you to go to our website, wiseguysandties.com/credit-banking. And when you do, right, you're going to be able to register to be a part of these Tuesday night webinars. Now, some of you are watching on YouTube. That's great. That's cool. I love it that you're there watching it. But part of the problem is like what Jose was dealing with is like, oh, here are my numbers. I want you to work with my numbers. Only those people that are part of the webinar are people that are eligible for us to work with their numbers, right? Because they've signed all the waivers down below. But as you'll also see that, look, maybe you're like, hey, I don't necessarily want to go over all that, but I would like to do a consultation. I would like to kind of work a little one-on-one. I'd like to get some more information on this. So this is where you go, wiseguysandties.com/credit-banking, and you can definitely play along. All right. Oh, we're getting some good feedback here from our panelists. Great info as usual. Thank you so much, Will. Okay. Yes, we will. People have asked, hey, can you put that link into the chat? Yes, we'll make sure we get that in the chat. Feel free to go to check it out. I mean, we definitely want you to sign up for we give you 30 minutes to go over this information for free. So why do we do this? Why I don't know. You don't like, what are you doing this for? We have so many clients. We literally have hundreds of clients, but we don't have a time to meet with all of them individually. So we've put together this webinar to be able to go over all of this wonderful information, so that the more that you keep attending, the more you continue to absorb this. Maybe some of the stuff I was going over tonight, you're like, Yeah, I know that. Got budget. It's easy. Yeah, I got that. All right. Every week is another little piece. For some people, budget is really where they're stuck. For you, you're doing great. That's not the issue. That's fine. Every week we're going to be working on a different facet of business, business credit banking, right? We want to help you eliminate your personal debt because here's what we found. As we help people eliminate their debt, then they're freed up to do what they want to do. And then they want to start a business. And when they start their business, they need money, right? Well, hey, Wise Guys and Ties right here will help you build the business credit so that you can find all the money you need to be successful at whatever it is that God put you on this planet to do. Now, we want you to be a part of these webinars so that you can learn this and have it change your life and experience financial and economic freedom. If you do want to do the consult with us, you need to fill out the information below as well. Don't leave it blank. If you leave it blank, as you saw on today's webinar, it's a bit of a guessing game for me. I've got to somehow try and figure out what these numbers mean. So hopefully we've clarified what all these numbers mean, and you just want to fill it all out, and then we'll be able to go over this information in a free 30-minute consultation, and then with your permission and approval, and also put it out there as part of the weekly mastermind. I want to see as many people getting involved with this. And we want testimonials from you guys, asking your questions, sharing your results. Let's make this mastermind here in 2020 be the year of the Lord's favor, right? I mean, this is the time when we preach the good news to the poor, we bind up the brokenhearted, we're setting the captives free, all to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Now, is this church? No, I'm not. This isn't church. I am a Christian. I'm a man of faith, but I totally believe that many of these principles are successful, whatever your background is. And I do believe that whatever you were put here, to do, that if there's something holding you back, and it is debt, that we could find out a way to get you set free. And that is the goal. And that's why Ray and I are here, and that's why we want to help you, and that's why we want you to participate. We want you to stop sitting back. So many of you are just sitting there and you watch it and you've seen this over and over and over again. It's like Groundhog's Day. It's every day. Yeah, I still got debt. I still got to go to work. Next day, still got debt, still got to go to work. This is your chance to change it. Your life right now is on a certain trajectory, right? If you make no changes to what you're currently doing, you're going to end up at a certain place. And if you're happy with that, God bless you. Amen. May you be granted success in all that you do. But for many of you, you're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this the rest of my life. And I don't like where I'm ending up. Maybe I'm not on track with my retirement, or maybe I'm not where I want to be. Well, if this is your chance, this is your opportunity to change your trajectory. This is the opportunity when you start working with us to steer and make course corrections, and maybe now we can make that trajectory go further and farther and faster, and you can achieve the freedom and the wealth. I mean, not everybody necessarily dreams of being rich and wealthy and all that, but I'm talking about just the kind of wealth where everything's paid for and there's enough to pass on to my loved ones, to the next generation, a legacy. I mean, what if all that you passed on was the fact that I'm not going to leave any of my kids with any debt of mine that they have to pay? I mean, that would be such a blessing. So folks, join us every week. We want to work with you. Love being on here. Thank you so much to CJ Wallace and his YouTube channel for having us on this week. Thank you to all of the folks that are on the Wise Guys and Ties webinar. I love working with each and every one of you. Make sure that you're emailing us your questions, putting in your text as well, because we really want everybody to get the most out of this mastermind. All right, there's my contact information on your screen. I want to thank you so much on behalf of myself, Ray Fleming, the guy who artfully makes all of these computer things so wonderfully work perfectly. We want to say good night. God bless.